The road through the woods. Snow fell in dense, relentless sheets, piling on the road faster than the plows could clear it. Sam tightened his grip on the steering wheel of his pickup, squinting against the swirling white chaos. His wipers struggled to keep the windshield clear, but he wasn't going to let a little snow, or even a blizzard, stop him from seeing Stacy tonight. He'd been planning this for weeks. Stacy loved Christmas, but this year had been rough. Her family had moved away, leaving her alone in their small rented house outside of town. Sam wanted to surprise her, bringing food, presents, and a promise to make this the best New Year's Eve she'd ever had. The road stretched ahead, a tunnel of dark trees and whirling snow. The radio sputtered with static, failing to lock onto any station. Sam switched it off, letting the rumble of the engine fill the cab. A flash of red light ahead made him tap the brakes. His tires skidded slightly before gripping the slick pavement. The car kept speeding and wouldn't stop. A semi-truck had jackknifed across the highway, blocking both lanes. Its hazard lights pulsed like a dying heartbeat, illuminating the skeletal trees on either side of the road. Sam cursed under his breath. A lone figure, presumably the truck driver, was waving a flashlight, motioning for him to turn back. "Detour it is," Sam muttered, pulling up the map on his phone. A secondary route cut through the forest, winding its way past a frozen lake and eventually reconnecting to the main highway. It would add 20 minutes to his drive, but he didn't have much of a choice. He turned onto the narrow, snow-choked road. The forest was silent, as though the snow had muffled every sound. Sam's headlights illuminated the trees, their gnarled branches heavy with ice. The further he drove, the darker the woods seemed to grow, the snow absorbing what little moonlight pierced the clouds. His truck's tires crunched on the snow-covered road. He tried to shake off the creeping unease curling in his stomach. "You're just tired," he told himself. "It's just snow and trees, nothing to worry about." The thought had barely formed when something darted across the road ahead. Sam slammed on the brakes, the truck skidding sideways before coming to a stop. His heart hammered in his chest as he scanned the road. Nothing. He squinted into the trees, his breath fogging up the windshield. For a moment, he thought he saw movement, something low and fast, weaving between the trunks. "Just a deer," he said aloud, his voice thin in the cold air. He released the brake and pressed on, but his grip on the wheel tightened. A few miles later, Sam noticed tracks in the snow. At first, they looked like tire marks running parallel to the road, but as he got closer, he realized they weren't from a vehicle. They were deep, clawed impressions, each one larger than his boot. Whatever had made them was heavy, and it was moving fast. The tracks veered off into the trees, disappearing into the shadows. Sam couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had left them was still nearby, watching. His unease deepened as the truck began to stutter. The engine coughed, and the headlights flickered. "No, no, no," Sam muttered, glancing at the fuel gauge. It was nearly empty. "It's impossible," he said. He'd filled up the tank before leaving. The engine sputtered one last time and died. The headlights winked out, plunging him into darkness. The thing in the forest. The silence pressed in, broken only by the soft hiss of falling snow. Sam fumbled for his phone, but the screen stayed black, no matter how many times he pressed the power button. A faint crunching sound made him freeze. Footsteps. They were slow and deliberate, moving through the snow just beyond the edge of the road. "Hello?" Sam called out, his voice trembling. "Is someone there?" The footsteps stopped. Sam's breath fogged in the cold air. He reached for the flashlight in his glove compartment, flicked it on, and aimed it toward the trees. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing nothing. Just trees and snow. Then he saw it. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall and impossibly thin, Its skin was gray and mottled, stretched tightly over its skeletal frame. Its arms were too long, its fingers ending in curved claws that gleamed in the light. Its face, or what should have been its face, was a blank expanse of pale flesh, broken only by a jagged slit of a mouth. As Sam watched, the mouth opened, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. The creature took a step forward, and Sam felt his body lock in place. His mind screamed at him to run, but his legs refused to move. The thing tilted its head, as if studying him. Then it opened its mouth wider, and the sound that came out wasn't a growl or a scream. It was laughter. High, thin, and utterly inhuman. Lesser demons. The end. When Sam didn't show up at Stacy's house, she called the police. The police arrested Marchant for questioning on surgery charges, and Roberts was taken away. They found his truck the next morning, buried in snow on the forest road. The driver's side door was open, and the cab was empty. Sam was never found. The only clue was a set of clawed tracks leading away from the truck, disappearing into the woods. Somewhere deep in the forest, the snow fell quietly, covering whatever had happened that night.